Welcome to another program in our series, Freethinking Forum. I'm Bill Weir, the host and producer, and I'm delighted to have with me again, Weir Spano.
Oh, it's always great to be here, Bill.
Good. And we have an important topic to deal with today. The upcoming election is important, but we're going to look back to 2016 to see what the Russians were doing to mess up our elections.
Right, and I hope that that helps inform us about what's happening in campaigns these days.
And be more cautious in what we believe.
Right.
Because these ads that we've just called up by putting in Russian ads in 2016 election are just amazing in their distortions. Shall we start with the one with Satan? If I win, Clinton wins. And Jesus says, not if I can help it.
Right, we should explain that these ads were actually given to the public by a congressional committee, and they've been demonstrated and proven by the intelligence community to have been prepared by Russian intelligence and then shipped to our computers.
Through social media.
Right. And what's happened here is that if you remember, the Russians, or actually just Julian Assange in Russia, who was there with WikiLeaks,
yeah.
Assange had access to the emails that the Russians hijacked from the Democratic National Committee.
Ooh.
And so...
And they use that to
find
these ads.
And so they put out a lot of that material during the campaign, leaked it on a kind of a storied basis or a structured basis, and basically drove everybody crazy because the Democratic National Committee was doing some bad stuff, like trying to keep Bernie from winning. It was programmed for Hillary to win. And that became clear if you saw these internal emails. But they also hijacked the targeting stuff that the campaign used. Who did they want to talk to?
Who did direct these ads to?
Right. Who did they want to talk to? Who did the campaign want to talk to?
Yeah.
And why? And then the Russians were able to say, okay, we need to get after that.
So, for example, here in the Midwest, several states seem to end up voting for Trump that everyone thought was going to vote for Hillary.
And this is all brought up by a new book by a woman I respect enormously, Kathleen Hall Jamieson, who's...
That's called Cyber
War.
Cyber War.
And she makes the point that this is the way war is happening now. And Russia declared war on us, and they hijacked basically our election system. Nobody walked in and put in a false vote. They just communicated to our people in a false way.
And what turned them off in voting for who they would otherwise vote for.
Now, if we can go back to, there's another one of the ads. We saw the Jesus ad where, the point was, which I guess surprised me a little bit, I didn't realize that Jesus was on Trump's side, but at any rate.
That's what they claim.
And
this one, obviously, with
just,
an X painted on Hillary's face.
Right. And you remember that what was happening in Trump rallies was they were saying, lock her up.
Yeah. And now we're on another one. Can we jump to this, or
Sure.
we the people, your voice in the White House? Who is this for?
Well, this is, we call for disqualification and removal of Hillary Clinton from the presidential ballot because it's the dynastic succession of the Clinton family. So that, you know, I mean, in a way, it's that crazy stuff, and you think nobody's going to believe. Well, yes, they do.
Yeah.
There are lots of people who believe nutty stuff like this, and that's what keeps happening in this last campaign. And what happened during the debate period? There were 3 debates, right? And Hillary, there was polling done after each debate, and Hillary won all 3 debates by at least 13 percentage points. So fairly substantial.
And so her numbers went up after the...
No, her numbers went down.
Why?
Because Trump was able to ask questions about particularly veracity and to make the claim that Hillary was being untruthful. And all of these ads had sort of prepared that message to be really well used, and they did it immediately after the debates themselves. They just flooded the airwaves, and so
Wow.
within a couple days, you had people saying, "Yeah, you know, she really is. You can't trust her." And
Yeah, these ads I could see would lead people that way.
oh yeah, it was. Let's see, who's up next? Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Bernie, of course, was and you remember it got to be in the campaign that he was kind of the victim of the Clinton establishment. He was, and Bernie was the guy who taught young people that they could win and be right. And so now he's not the candidate. And what the Russians wanted to do was keep talking about Bernie and how he got hosed in the campaign and how the Clintons are really the bad guys here.
The Clinton Foundation is a problem.
I agree with that, by the way. I think it always was a problem and kind of a dumb thing to do for the Clintons. But, you know, when you got all this stuff just pouring in during the election, what you're doing is trying to say, don't vote for that person.
Well, it was politically bad, but I had the impression the foundation was doing good out in the rest of the world.
But the facts don't matter. You got to remember, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is to win.
Should we touch on any of the others?
Sure. What's up next?
I want to get to the Star Tribune election guide.
Okay.
Should we jump to that?
All right. Well,
You've seen this. First of all, the lines will not be that long. I find it hard to believe that the Star Tribune is trying to scare people off from going to vote by telling them you're going to be in a line this long that will take over an hour to get through. But, you know, it's clever making the word vote out of all these people. But one of the things I find in here is, first of all, for the governor candidates, Tim Walz and Jeff Johnson, there is brief statements on 5 issues. And I think you have heard very often that if you have to talk about issues, you're in trouble.
Right.
So,
but the newspaper has to do that because that's what they're supposed to do. You know, they're supposed to try to help us keep our eyes on the ball as opposed to,
Well, have you read any of these from Waltz or Johnson?
sure, yeah. Go ahead. Which ones do you want to talk about?
Well, schools. How about schools? Here's a man that was a high school teacher, a coach, a dad to public school students, and he's shown that's shown him the importance of a good education. He would fully fund classrooms in all of the state, supports access to pre-K.
Right.
Not every kid has access to that now. And recruiting quality teachers and expand technical education. That sounds like a pretty good economic education platform.
Well,
It's pretty vague.
sure, it's vague, but it does say, I'm willing to spend money on this.
Yeah.
I'm willing to spend the state's money on this. And if you look at Johnson's, basically he's saying,
Government spends too much.
right. And where do we spend the most? On education.
Yeah.
And
he
so,
cites a 54% increase in state spending in 8 years, and says Minnesotans are taxed more than almost anyone in the United States. Well, that's why we end up with good education. People who are qualified to work and build companies. He would audit the state programs for effectiveness. Well, I think we'd probably come out pretty good there. And fund those that work and end those that don't.
right.
Can you imagine anything that doesn't work in any way?
Oh, sure, but you know, the process of making government work, the process of governance, as political scientists talk about it, is much different than the campaigns. And basically, what's happened in Minnesota, indeed in the whole country, is because we now have essentially rich people running our campaigns, because anybody can contribute and we can't stop them, we now have pretty close to what Aristotle used to identify as an oligarchy, a government by rich people, because the rich people are the ones who keep sending in the ads and sending in the money. And one of the things they always seem to agree on is we don't want to pay much. Matter of fact, we don't want to pay much at all. A little bit for military stuff because that's good for business, but the rest of it, education, you gotta start cutting down all of that stuff. It's all wasted.
Well,
And
I
that's-
don't think that's true.
No, I don't either, but that's the kind of differentiation between the two parties. And in this case, Johnson has the Republican position. There's a lot of, and the code words are usually fraud, waste, and abuse.
Fraud, waste, and abuse.
That's what we say. That's what's causing all this trouble. Is things don't work because there's fraud, waste, and abuse.
Really?
Yeah. Well, there isn't.
I see things working.
Yeah.
And turning the page to Amy Klobuchar, Jim Newberger, is there any contest there?
Not really.
So let's go on to Tina Smith and Karen Housley.
That's more of a contest. Tina, as you know, was
Chief
had
of
her-
Staff and
right.
Lieutenant Governor.
Mark Dayton's chief of staff and lieutenant governor. She took the job of running for the Senate from Mark. He appointed her to the Senate, and then she's now running to
Yeah.
fill the seat. and she'll have to run again in 2 years.
Right, because this is simply the unexpired term of Senator Franken.
Right. And so it always was going to be a question, whoever has that seat, in the wake of the Franken problem. It was always going to be.
But it seems to me it's no longer an open seat. Tina has shown in the Senate what she wants to do.
Yeah, but I don't think the public hasn't gotten that yet.
Really?
And so this is pretty much open.
Huh.
And one of the, Karen Housley is somebody who is, she's got a good resume. Her husband
Oh, yeah.
helps a lot because he's quite famous for people who care about hockey. And so that's not a done deal. The difference between those two is, I think, around 6 or 7 points in the polling, and the difference between the Amy and Newberger is like 13 points.
Huh, quite a
So
difference.
I don't think they're going to be much.
I'm turning the page to the U.S. House.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right.
Will we still have 8 after the next census?
Probably not, but maybe.
I gotta
My wife is working on that.
Find everybody that we can
That's
count.
right. That's right.
Good for your wife. Yeah.
And
Now, where are the races?
well, one of the things that's kind of new this year that people in the Twin Cities area are beginning to see, for the first time, Minnesota has really a lot of contested seats. And so we're beginning to see negative ads that they've been seeing outstate for a number of years. We're seeing them here in the Twin Cities.
Third district?
The third, the second,
Fifth?
not the fifth so much, because
Yeah.
that's,
pretty hard for a Republican to win.
yeah. But the eighth comes down close to the Twin Cities and is
Yeah.
buying a lot of Twin City market.
The northern Twin Cities.
And,
Pete Stauber, Republican, Joe Radinovich, Democrat.
right.
What do you know about that one?
Well, polling says it's dead even.
Well, that should be interesting.
Most political types I talk to expect Stauber to win.
Really?
Yeah. The Republican National, the RNCC, Republican National Campaign Committee, no, our
Congressional
Triple C, Congressional Campaign Committee, is running some pretty tough ads. Radinovich has a history of, as a teenager, driving violations, and also had a...
I bet a lot of us do.
and he also, and this is kind of funny because up in the eighth, if we think, when old pals like me think of the eighth, we think of the Iron Range.
Yeah.
Right, and
But
Duluth.
it's a lot more than that now.
Yeah, now there are more people down on the southern end than there are up there. But Radinovich is from up there, and he got caught with some marijuana equipment and stuff like that.
Well, just the equipment.
And
And there was no charges, were there?
no. Now, if he'd have been black, he'd have gone to jail probably, but that's the way we do justice on that subject.
We better end that.
But now, an awful lot of people have told me up in the district there, you know what? That's not bad for him, because everybody around here did that too.
Yeah.
You know, and so But yeah, they're really hammering on him, big time.
Now, does his position on guns create a problem? He wants universal background checks, ban on bump stock, and ban on high-capacity magazines, and age of 21 to buy assault-style firearms. That seems so reasonable to me.
Well, and apparently it is beginning to sound reasonable to almost everybody in Minnesota. And so as I understand it, even NRA endorsed folks are not saying, we don't want background checks, we don't want any of that. Then they don't say that out loud anymore, because most people think, wait a minute, that's not right.
And bump stocks make a gun into a repeater.
Right, an automatic weapon, right.
Automatic. So I sure hope that people pay attention to the contrast in the positions there.
I think this one, though, the third, is
Dean Phillips versus the incumbent,
right.
Eric Paulson.
Eric Paulson. Third has always been, it's west of the Twin Cities, you know, Lake Minnetonka area, that kind of stuff. It's always been an area that had moderate Republican. Bill Frenzel was there.
But he was much more moderate than Eric Paulson is.
And Eric has looked to, for most of the time, has looked more moderate than other Republicans. He's not a Tea Party guy, but the truth is that the Republican Party has moved so far to the right that it's hard for him not to get caught doing some votes that are really, to most people in Minnesota, seem like kind of out of the mainstream.
Now, there was a congresswoman that was infamous in a way about her votes. Who am I speaking about? 4th District? Or no?
Michelle Bachmann?
Michelle Bachmann. My understanding is that Eric Paulson's votes are worse than Michelle Bachmann.
I don't know. I've not seen that analysis.
Well,
I've not seen that.
I haven't. I must admit, I haven't looked into it, but I know I'm supporting Dean.
The RCCC Republican Congressional Committee did some ads against Dean, where they attempted to prove that, and Phillips is following a playbook that Democrats are following all over the country, and that is the sort of understanding that underneath everything, healthcare matters more than anything in this election.
Oh, I've seen that ad against Dean Phillips.
Have you where he didn't supposedly had a coffee shop and didn't
offer health care insurance to the part-time employees.
Right. Well, the ad doesn't make it clear that they were part-time employees. It's only his explanation that has helped us understand what was going on there. But anyway, they're coming after him for that.
Oh, yeah, distortion.
And that too follows a very classic playbook, and that is you always go after the strengths. You know, you just hammer on whatever they say is strongest, that's what you hit them on. And so if he's saying he's the healthcare guy and you vote for me because you're going to like it, then he's going to say, or Paulson's going to say, oh, no, or somebody on his behalf is going to say, no, wait a minute, he's really, you know, he cheats on this.
I think what's important is what he's going to do in Congress
Right.
and what Eric has done. Every American needs affordable, high-quality care, fix and improve the ACA and the Medicare buy-in and prescription price negotiations. That makes sense to me.
Yep. Me too, but Republicans basically have a different take on that. Get rid of the ACA, and they talk about offering a much better plan, but essentially, I mean, the part that the Republicans hate about the ACA is that it works like regular insurance works. It has people who don't need it so much pooled with people who do need it, and they all pay, but the ones who don't need it are going to pay more than the ones who do. And then they keep saying, well, we don't like that system. But unfortunately,
A lot of folks don't understand insurance.
yeah, you can't get out of that unless you want to just go over to the government who pays for everything.
Yeah. Well, I think there are some merits to looking at a one-party
Single payer, yeah.
single payer, yeah. Anything about the other House candidates?
Well, the first is really up for grabs.
Oh, really? Yeah, because it's an open seat.
Right, it's an open seat. Walz is running for governor. And Dan Feehan is, that too seems to be quite close. Hagedorn is,
That's a famous name.
yeah,
In
running a
Minnesota.
lot, and he's kind of been, some Republicans tell me he's sort of a problematic candidate.
Really?
And he just, doesn't give you what you want every day if you're the campaign manager or whoever.
Oh,
And so, but I think that one's at least a coin flip. And finally, the second, Jason Lewis.
versus Angie Craig.
Right. And that's getting tough. But
What do you mean tough?
Well, the ads are beginning to run, and that's why I wanted to talk about the stuff from 16, because, and what the Russians are doing, because in a way, we're kind of doing the same thing.
We're falling into the Russian style?
Yeah, we're starting to say things that, if they're not true, at least they're pretty close to not true. And it's a tough thing.
This has been really valuable. I
Thank you, sir.
Why, for coming
Wonderful
again.
to see you.
And while this will be seen many times, I think, in the coming weeks, I bet your observations will be important even beyond the election.
Well, thanks.
So thank you for tuning in.